Welcome, everyone. And today we're going to be going over our TaxMinds tax software. We're going to go over all the features that it has and how this differentiates from all other tax software and how it can make a tax professional's life a lot easier. So let's get started. So first you're going to go to app.taxminds associates and we have a demo version. At app.taxmindsassociates.com/try it now. This is the demo version that we're going to be going over, but it does reflect the actual tax software that we can provide. So to start off, this is a secure cloud-based tax software system, which is available from any internet connected device, meaning that you don't have to have no local installation. You can work from anywhere. You'll receive automatic updates and backups directly to the system, and you reduce data loss and risk. So everything is integrated into that one tax software, and you can use it from your phone, your laptop, computer, or any tablet system. Anything that has an internet, you can file your taxes on from here. So to get started here, on this section are your most recent returns that you have been working on. So you can see quickly what the returns are here. You can see the full list of all the tax returns that you have been working on using this button here where it says return list. So, but these are the most recent ones that you may have probably been working on. On this section here is the e-file summary where it shows you how many of these tax returns that you've been working on, if they have been transmitted, if they have been submitted to the IRS, and it's been on queue with the IRS in the state, if it's on queue at the bank, and if there's been any rejections by either the IRS, the state, or the bank itself. And then here it'll show you if it has been completely accepted by the state, the IRS, and the banks, and if you have any IRS alerts messages here. So it keeps everything contained and all in one platform, so it's easy for you to use and navigate. Now, during tax season, we all know that it can get pretty hectic. So while we're working on our taxes for our clients, we may get a call on the status of any of our clients. So if you want to do a quick return search and a search on the status of any of your clients, this is option here can assist where you put in the client's either social security number, their EIN, their name, phone number, or email. So for example, if we go and search here, for example, and these are sample returns as well. We have not submitted this, so you're not going to see anything on the e-file or e-file history because this is just a demo version. But you can see on the tax history here how much their income was on this section, and if there has been any credits that's on their tax returns, any taxes and payments. And then here you can see a quick search of the filing status and how and what status pretty much has been, whether it has been submitted or not. And then you can also open up the return if you need to here. But otherwise, you can see the quick tax summary report in this section. Now let's go back to the dashboard. So here in this section in red, you can see if there's any rejected tax returns. So when you have any rejections here, when you click on it, it'll show you the reason why it was rejected. And it gives you more flexibility to be able to correct it and resubmit it back to the IRS. Here you can have you have this section to do an appointment list where you can keep all your tax clients in one dashboard and in one place. So you can create appointments and schedule appointments and meetings here in this section. Financial products. So we have a list of all IRS approved banks that we use for pay by refund. So we have them facilitated here, so you are able to use them in order to pay by refund. Then we have for those have their EFINs or are independent tax firms. you can set up your firm information here. So here, going back to the recent returns, you can you see the full list here, and you can filter it by either the name, the status basically if it has been transmitted, if it's not been transmitted, if they're on the IRS, if they're accepted or rejected, canceled, etc. So you have a list of different items of how you can separate them. You can also separate them by, if you want to look at just individual returns, or if you're looking for a specific corporate or S Corp return, you can select this here and it'll list all the type of returns that you have there. In this section here, it's to create a new return. So you can create a new return in several different ways. This is one of them that you can select it here. And then we'll go over the other options shortly. So here, for example, we are able to do what is called performa. So if you have any clients from previous years, the information can get rolled over into the previous year, meaning the main information such as the client's name, address, dependent information, and so on. The other thing is that you can update it here, whether it's in process, you can mark it up as missing information. If you have any questions or if you're waiting for some documents or information from the client itself, you can better manage your client's information here and the list as well, so you know who and when to follow up. And then here we have different options, actions here, which if you no longer going to, if the client decides not to file, we can archive the return and have and follow up with any of your clients. Now, if we go back to dashboard here on your most recent returns, you can also start a new return through here as well. There's another option where you can file a new return. If you go here to your client list, here basically is where you're going to create your client list. And this will give them access for you and the ability for you to send them a client portal where they can upload all their documents and also answer basic questions on their tax return. So if we go here and you select new client, you're going to select it here for individual. You're going to write down their first name, their last name, email, phone number, and social security. Once you fill out this information, you're gonna save this. Now, if it's for an actual business like an S Corp or a C Corp, you're going to select the business, which is every bit an S Corp or a corporation pretty much is a entity of itself. So you're going to put in select the business and put in the business name and information here and their EIN. You're also going to save this. So once the information is here, you're going to create a request, basically requesting the client to accept the client portal and the invitation to it. There, the clients can upload their documents and access their documents and tax returns at a later date if they need to. Now we go here to the returns. If you go back to the dashboard, in the return here, you can also access and start a new return just like here. You can see the full list of your return list just like this in here. These are just like quick searches, and then the full menu is right here. You can also access the approved e-file and print list, pro forma, which is prior year carry forward from your previous years. All the information gets carried forward, so you don't have, so it'll save you time. If you want to back up your tax returns for your clients, restore some returns, and if you have archive returns, for example, clients that are not going to be filing with you this year, then you can just archive it. Now, we have also what's called My Tax Portal. So here we're going to go towards the settings, and this is very important that you do whenever you're starting up, where aside from having a centralized client profile where every client can upload all their documents and everything like that, here we can organize also the type of questions or engagement letters that we can send over to their clients. So here, what we do is, if in the general section, if you are independent EFIN holder and using our tax software, you can upload your own company logo up here and do also and get a personalized link. And you can save it. So you could include it into the invitation when you're sending it your clients an invitation to the client portal. Email templates. So here you can have a default email invite that we can provide, or you can edit it and create your own. So the default email pretty much can look like this, or you can create your own in order to send over to the clients. Letterhead. So you can create your letterhead based on your business information. You put in whatever your name of your tax office is, the address, and the phone number and contact information. So you can edit this information too. So it'll have your company's name, logo, and information. We also have organizers when we're sending over the client portal. We are sending them an engagement letter and also a questionnaire. So we have questionnaires in English and also in Spanish. We also have a business organizer templates for businesses, typically for partnership returns, which is for 1065, for 1120 corporate returns, 1120S for S corps, and so on. So you can have we provide default templates, but you can also edit it or create your own. Okay, so here on this client section, it's the same thing as here, where you can create a new client and send them the request. And then in this section here, you can see the request of any of the clients that you have sent to. If we go back to the dashboard, the eFile Center is the same, gives you all the same option here, but it gives you the full breakdown here. Otherwise, you can use this as the summary and shortcut to access this information. Financial products, as mentioned, we have a list of IRS approved banks that are available that you can apply for to pay by refund. Now we go to the toolbox section here where you're going to set up your firm. So for EFIN holders, this is where you're going to set up with your firm, your tax license, and your EFIN number. However, if you're working with a team, we are going to start doing the preferences and templates basically to get you started into doing tax returns. So under preferences, under toolbox, we have a theme that is just the default section here. You do have the option to change the colors if you like, but I prefer to leave everything the way that it is because it's a lot easier if you're able to see the reds, which means that you are required to change it, and the yellow, which basically means that everything is transferred over from previous information. Dashboard settings. If you need to do any edit any of these settings, this is going to be the section here. Return workspace. So here is you pretty much would only need to do this one time. It does have the default options here, but you're able to change it to make sure that it adapts to what your preferences are. So for example, we can display the Spanish input screens if available. So you can select yes, if you have clients that are majority speak Spanish, and if there is any of our information and screens and forms available that are in Spanish, you wanted to display it. So here you would select yes or no. Default prepare. So here in the default prepare section, this is where you're going to select your name as a default prepare. So any tax returns that you're creating automatically has your information at the bottom of your tax returns that you're always preparing. Here, it's also going to show you, gives you the option to combine federal and state client letters. So you can select yes or no, or leave it as the default. If you want to auto save the EIN for library for any of the W-2s or 1099 forms that you submit, we typically put yes because Any other EIN that you put, it'll automatically populate the address and the name of that employer. If you would like to password protect all of your tax returns, whenever you're printing, you can select yes or no. You can wrap the text in case your screens or if you're using multiple screens for doing taxes. Typically, I like to do yes. Otherwise, if you don't prefer it and you can select no, but typically I like to do this. Um, Confirmation dialog, confirmation extension warning, and no personal income tax notification. You can leave it so they can give you a warning or leave it the way it is. Auto add state return based on the client information sheet. I usually select this always because there are some states that don't require for you to do state income tax, but the ones that do, we want to make sure that it automatically auto-populates this option. So if it is a state that it does require to be filed based on the person's address, then you want to select this. And then automatically you know that that person needs to file a state tax. And also it makes sure that you don't forget. Auto update the return status to e-filed when return is transmitted to the IRS or the bank. So you can select no, but I usually like to say yes. And then you require the clients to complete the identity verification process. You can make your selection here. After you do all of this, you want to make sure that you press save. So any information that you have made, you want to make sure that it's saved so it stays consistent after you start filing your tax returns. Now continue over with the toolbox. We're going to go to templates. We're going to close this. We're going to go to templates. Now, this is where you are able to do many things that can incorporate into your tax return and save time as well. So, for example, like here, we can create a certain price list. So many clients, many tax professionals charge their pricing either based on the forms, based on the time that they have on that they spend on their tax returns, or based on the complexity of the tax returns itself. But if you are one of those tax professionals that charges per form, you can add the price list here. So let's say we're going to do my tax firm, and you can also create multiple price lists. For example, you can create price lists for 1040s. You can create price lists for business returns as S Corps or C Corps or partnership returns, etc. You can also this is for the federal side, you can also do different price rates depending on the state as well. So you have many, many options. So let's say, for example, for a regular 1040 form with a W-2, let's say you charge 225. We're just making up these numbers, right? So, and then if we go down, we have we list pretty much all the different types of forms that there is here. And again, if you charge per form, it's up to you how you want to do it, but this is just an example. You want to do the 1095A, $25 for every healthcare form. For every 1098 form, you're going to do $35. For every 1098 tuition fee, we're going to do $50. For every 1099 CAP, we're going to do an extra 30 and so on. And again, you only do this one time when you have the price list and you're going to save it. If you do have any service charge for any reason, for example, like an e-filing fee or anything like that, it's up to you to create this. Now, what happens is when you create this and whenever you're working on your tax return, you can incorporate these prices on the invoice and it'll calculate to your client basically your pricing per form depending on the type of forms that they have. So if they do have any of these forms, the system will automatically calculate it for you. So And of course, you can always change that and give them discounts or make up your own fees as needed. So we're going to go here and save it. And here, when you go back, you're going to see your list here. And again, you can create multiple default prices, listing prices for your tax services. So here, it's just basically the print packets. There's a default and how when you're printing the tax returns, but if you need to make any changes, you can do it here, like standard changes for everything. If you need to include any changes on the client letter, for example, the footer, the header, or anything like that, we do have default client letters already there. But if you need to make any changes or if you want to make a new one, you have the option to do that as well and make it your own. The EIN library is pretty much basically when you put in any 1099s or W-2s, their EINs with the employer, you're going to see here the list of all the employers and EINs. So when you do put in the EIN again for any other tax returns, all the employers' information will populate. And here, depending on the occupation and what you put for your tax clients, you'll automatically create, the system will automatically create a shortcut and list all the occupations that you're mostly working into so it can make foresee and input all the information for you. Now, here in my tax portal settings, we have the introduction of the client portal. So here we're going to go to the general. We went over this part here where you can upload the logo, the invitation to the email, and the letterhead and organizer. We went over that section. We have the option to have the signature devices. So if you are, for example, a lot of tax professionals do virtual tax preparation, but if you are meeting with somebody in front, you can in person, you can have them sign on your phone or a tablet or any other device that you can have it here. So you don't need to physically print it out, but you can have the client either sign their tax returns through the client portal or through a designated device, whether it's your phone, a tablet, or anything like that, if you prefer. Here we have instant form view devices, and then pro forma carry forward, which basically is the prior year you carry forward and now. Let's see, we're going to go back to the dashboard. So here in this section here is basically the previous years of tax returns that you're able to file. So as you can see, we are in the year, we're filing right now for the tax year 2025. So we can file back as far back as 2016. Here you have notifications, especially if it was somebody signs up to the client portal, submits documents, you would see the notifications here. Okay. And that's a general overview of our TaxMinds software. We are going to have our next couple of videos, how to file a 1040 form, working on Schedule Cs, and doing client portal invitations. So we're going to be going over that in the next couple of videos. Stay tuned.